In the fullness of years, thriving in your senior years, thriving in your old age. There's so much advice. Exercise is the key. Mild cardio, strength training, and stretching. Addressing vitamin deficiencies is crucial. Make sure that you're getting enough vitamin A, vitamin B, and vitamin D. Diet is crucial. Less red meat, more vegetables. Stay hydrated. Social connections are essential. Good relationships with your family members and with a social group should be actively pursued. Stay active. Keep your mind stimulated. Keep your body active and engage in social activities. These things are all good advice for what researchers call successful aging. There's a problem with this approach, though. If you have lost your family and if you are restricted by health issues, does that mean that you can't age successfully? I don't think so. Successful aging is one thing, but there's a deeper, more meaningful way of considering growing old. If having a good old age is dependent on your health holding out, and your family and friends always being around, then it's a matter of luck. But there is an approach to aging in which you can choose a rich life and death, regardless of your circumstances. We're going to look at that. But before I explain, I would like to begin with a story. Back in the 1400s, there was a fellow who lived in Switzerland named Nicholas of Flue. In his young adulthood, Nicholas served in the army, and in his middle age he was a magistrate in a small town. Back then, a magistrate was the legal expert in a community, sort of a cross between a judge and a lawyer. By all accounts, he was an excellent magistrate, very competent, knowledgeable, and full of wisdom. When Nicholas retired, he decided to live a simple, quiet life. He moved away from town into the countryside and raised a garden and spent much time in prayer and meditation. This retirement lifestyle seemed to only increase his wisdom because people would come from near and far to seek out his insights on public and personal issues. As you may know, Switzerland is made up of states known as cantons. Back in the 1400s, this wasn't working out as well as it does now, and at one point Switzerland was about to enter into a civil war and splinter through internal warring. Because of his reputation for wisdom, Nicholas was sought out for his perspective. He was able to offer counsel that brought peace to Switzerland and helped establish the Switzerland that we know today. He has come to be known as the Father of Switzerland and is the patron saint of Switzerland. Not bad for a side gig in one's retirement. Nicholas's story has several points that can provide insights for us in our day and time. I'll get to that in a bit, but first I would like to talk about the definition of retirement years. Retirement was invented in the late 1800s, at least as a concept recognized by governments. Prior to that, if someone lived into old age, the plan was that their workload became less and less according to their abilities. By the mid-20th century in North America, it was commonly assumed that a person would retire from the workforce around 65 years old. Since life expectancy was around 72 years old, the expectation was that a person would stop work and relax for 7 years until they died. This admittedly is a bit of a caricature, but not too far off. But now retirement age is anywhere from 55 to 75 years old, and many people live into their 80s and 90s. We have needed a different perspective, and many researchers have offered their opinions. One that I find particularly useful is the notion of first age, second age, third age. First age is the first 20 or 30 years of your life when you are preparing for the responsibilities of adulthood. Second age is the next 30 years or so when you're actively involved in the societal roles of work and/or family. The third age is a time when your family has grown and/or you pass work on to the next generation. But it is not as simple as leaving the workforce, sending your kids off to their adult lives, and drawing a pension. You may have the idea that you are a worker and a parent, and then you enter a time when you don't work and you don't parent. It's not that simple. It has been suggested that this third age is actually made up of 4 stages: transition into old age, early old age, transition into senescence, and senescence. As anyone who has gone through the retirement process can tell you, you began to anticipate it several years before you declare it. And once you have walked away from your career, it takes months or even years to find your lifestyle. You then spend as many years as possible living your new lifestyle. Once you notice more and more that your brain and your body are causing limitations, you have to begin to deal with the fact that your freedoms are going to be increasingly restricted, with death at the end of the line. If you do an internet search on retirement and old age, you will find a variety of checklists about the tasks of old age. I would like to suggest that they boil down to 2 main issues. How are you going to define yourself in your third age? And what are the components of your third age? For those who navigate these issues fairly well, it is a matter of accepting one's age and learning to live with the positives and negatives of growing older. However, those who struggle in their third age are those who either can't accept that they are growing old or are fearful of growing old. And then there's senescence. This is a time in life when one's physical and mental capabilities deteriorate to the point where you need help in your daily living. Again, lack of acceptance or fear of this stage can lead to despair and a poor transition. Fortunately, research has pointed to the fact that senescence can be a very rich time of life, a time when your deepest wisdom and deepest spirituality comes to full maturity. And speaking of spirituality, I have not mentioned it as a component of the third age. That is because I believe it is the entire context and not a component of the third age. One's relationship with religion can be a component, but spirituality is much more than this. Spirituality, whether one is religious or not, is how one views the bigger picture, the principles of life and the principles of the universe, and whether there is a God or whether there is a life force, and how one relates to this. There is research that would suggest that whether religious or atheist, a person needs such an outlook to have a successful senescence. Transitioning into your third age is similar to transitioning into your second age. As a teenager or young adult, you were looking at a future of being an adult. You considered your growing up years and you pondered your interests and aptitudes, and you developed a tentative plan for becoming an adult. The same process is helpful for entering your old age and senescent years. It helps to take stock of who you have been over the past 30 or 40 years. What was your identity? And then take stock of your interests and aptitudes. What things do you want to retain in your life? What things do you let go? And is there anything you let go way back when that you want to reintroduce into your life? Getting back to Nicholas, his approach to his senior years and how he lived his third age allowed him to thrive. He shifted his identity based on his interests and abilities, and he tended to his spirituality. He actually became a deeper version of himself in his later years. This is what thriving in your old age looks like. I would like to suggest that there are 3 components to aging. First component, second component, and the third component, which are strategies, such as exercise, body balance, diet, socialization, activity. Note that the third component is what I earlier identified as successful aging. Successful aging is actually a set of strategies that support the first 2 components. The third component, the strategies, are only effective if they are addressing an issue. An analogy. Tires and windshield wipers and fuel pumps are good things, but only if you have a car. And you had better be sure that you know the make, model, and year of your car before you begin ordering the parts. So, in following this analogy, the first component, the car, spirituality and meaning, how you relate to the universe and how the universe relates to you. Second component, the make, the model, and the year, your uniqueness. Then the third component, which is the parts, or the strategies. Exercise, body balance, diet, socialization, activity. Defining spirituality and meaning. What is life all about anyway? There seems to be some underlying principles in the universe. Is life about God, nature, mathematical certainty, chaos? But especially, where do I fit in? How do I relate to this? Your uniqueness. What is the life story you have been playing out, and where is it going? Your goals and strategies should match your temperament. So what exactly is your temperament? What are the things in your life that you should embrace with pride? What are some of your regrets that you could still do something about? What are some of your dreams, hopes, and interests that you have left behind? Can you re-engage them? There's a quote I love from Lew Wallace's novel The Prince of India that sums up what I believe are good questions for those entering the third age. I am now on a road. If I keep to it, where will I arrive? And wisdom will answer, what are your desires? For what are you fitted? And what are the opportunities of the time? Last words. I hope this PowerPoint has given you a sense of direction in developing your third age plan. If you would like to dive deeper, I have a workbook that you can purchase. And if you would like extra assistance, I provide online coaching. You can check both of these out through the Lanana Therapy website, lananatherapy.ca.